Okay, so Karen, you wrote in some notes of your trip to Lithuania that, quoting you, my thinking has certainly changed from what I believed as a displaced person in Richmond, Virginia. Thank you, God, for all just the way it is. So, could you talk about that a little bit about how the trip to Lithuania in 2012, how that changed you and made you change your thinking?
There are so many aspects to that. Um, First, having lived in war-torn Europe and then in Hamburg in a displacement camp, that's all I knew. I mean, my mother only, and my three siblings living in what was a camp where we lived in one room uh, 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 without any family, without any friends, and
And I was reading your notes about that, or maybe it was your mother's notes. She said there was like everyone was living in one room
yes,
in the
and
displacement
I have a
camp,
picture of that.
and you had a curtain that
Divided.
separated where your mother slept and where the children slept,
Yes.
and there were outhouses. There was no indoor plumbing,
There was
and
no stove from what I remember.
and you said that everybody took one bath a week
We had
in the same bath water.
we had a huge tin. What? How should I describe it? Tin. Where we and I don't know where the hot water came from for all of us to be bathed at once a week. I had no idea, and so. And now I see my entire life really as being in deprivation, and I thought that was normal. That's it. I thought that was normal.
And when you say you see your life as a deprivation, you mean even when you're in America and you have all these good things and you have a very good life, but you still think of that childhood, those early years. Is that what you're kind of saying, and it stays with you?
It's not that I think of it. It's in my being. It's my very being, which I wasn't aware of until beginning to write about this and to put it out and have other people who understand and are witnessing this, that this is again where I'm now becoming visible to myself. Yes, those were my experiences, however, it wasn't me. It was part of my experience that I now see developed into post-traumatic stress disorder, which I wasn't aware of until here I am, 82, and my doctor told me he thought I had post-traumatic stress disorder, and intellectually I was familiar with it, but now feeling feelings about it, that wasn't my life, and it isn't my life now, where in the past I thought that was me.
So that's very interesting. So the way you say that, so that wasn't. I like how you said it. Did better than I was just thinking. It wasn't. It isn't your life, but you thought that it was because of the memories.
No, not because of the because the experiences were so deeply embedded in my heart, my soul,
Okay.
my whole mind, that I didn't know any other way, and now I do.
Well, explain that a little bit. Yeah, how have you been able to heal yourself? Is that the right word? Or help
Well,
yourself?
I think it comes more than being. No, I can't heal myself on my own. I can cooperate, and the main person I've been cooperating with and still do is God.
Okay.
And when when I'm going to skip forward to, let's say, 1951, when we came to America, and the Methodist Church sponsored us that we, for the first time, were going to church as a family. And I began to sense there really is, well, to me it started as a being, now I know it's God, and who makes all the difference in my world and continues to do so.
So you're talking about like a relationship with God, as
Yes.
if God was a next door neighbor and you could talk to them every day and their help. Is that what you mean?
Well, yes, furthermore, that he's in me. See, that is not just a next door neighbor or somebody out there.
Okay.
He's in me, and that piece and that information I had no clue about.
Okay, so that's a big deal. That's very different than what I was just saying. So, and so by feeling that God is actually in you, that helped to heal you in a way of these
Totally.
memories, the trauma.
And the abandonment of my father who died, the abandonment of the relatives, not having the support of our family.
Yeah, there was a little story in there. Again, I think it was your mother who wrote this. When you were in the displaced persons camp, you were going to kindergarten.
Yes.
And you were very upset about that, or you felt abandoned.
Yes.
Could you talk about that a little bit?
Yes. There were rows and rows of barracks, and there was nothing I could cling to or relate to in that way, and then it was it was lonely. I was lonely. And every time I heard an airplane, I thought that my father was coming back because I had heard his death well, now I know the bombs that were dropped, and he bled to death. So that's the connection. But in my mind, as a child, I thought, hearing a plane, that he was coming back to live again with us.
So you had a longing for him.
Yes.
Even though you never, only a few times in your life did he even see you, right? Twice he actually saw you when you were a baby, but you don't really remember that, obviously.
Not at all.
But you still had a longing for him.
Yes, yes. And much later, perhaps even only 2 years ago, I realized I was so angry that I had felt abandoned by his death, that I didn't have a biological father to help me throughout my years.
And you must have seen that with your mother too, because she never remarried, right?
No.
So all her life she had to deal with being a single mother, and in those days, right, it was pretty unusual. Like today, it's not that unusual, but so did you see that in your mother's life too? That you said you were angry. Do you think she was angry, or did she have feelings that this shouldn't have happened to me, or it was wrong?
It's interesting you say that, because let me say yes, and I also know now, which I didn't know, I was to some extent always also feeling what she was feeling, like the grief, the anger, but she never talked about her feelings. It all was shut in her. She and so while she never talked about it, more than any, I could sense it in her.
Okay, let's stop